nigga ball Steve Harvey. Blowing up the dome, no Sharpie. Working out.
Thanks for stopping by, guys. I said I was going to do an episode every month, and I am behind a month. But hopefully by the end of the year, I will have uploaded a total of 12 episodes. So I'll have to double up one of these months. Obviously, it's Pride Month. On this channel, if you've listened to my other episodes, I don't like to go the traditional route. I like to come at things with a fresh and new perspective and a different angle. Let's just talk about some reasons why we would need a Pride Month. And I think the main point I want to hit on, just because you're in the same community doesn't mean you have to agree with the same ideology. Not all Christians have to agree on things. Not all atheists have to agree on things. Not all conservatives have to agree on things. And especially with this being Pride Month, not all members of the LGBT community have to agree with everything that's going on, or even just Pride Month in general. I mainly want to talk about the principle of it. Why do we feel like we need a whole month for it? And again, I'm not advocating for or against. I do these exercises, and the reason I do this podcast, and I've said it on my other episodes, is truly just, these are just snippets. These are thoughts with Al, right? This is just what's going on in my head. And I feel like maybe some people can relate because they're sick and tired of just hearing, either you're on this side of the message or you're on that side of the message. Well, unfortunately, life just isn't like that. It's always somewhere in between, and it's neither black or white. It's usually gray. If that expressing your sexuality is your first thing about you, I think it does speak to a level of immaturity that you want people to know about. Then yeah, I think that's immature. I didn't say you're evil. I didn't say I hate you. Plenty of people have immature traits that they express. We're all immature to a certain degree, right? Think about it from this level. I know a common talking point on the left is that the reason we have a Pride Month is because either through religion or through the government, you feel like you've been oppressed, kept down, attacked. I think that social media and mainstream outlets are taking advantage of fear and just stating things that are not there. This claim that is repeated through articles, through the news, that there are people out there that want to wipe trans people off the planet or have certain members of the LGBTQ community not exist. Stop with the fear-mongering. That's not happening. What is happening are people are responding by legislation and saying, hey, we don't want to force it on people, so we're trying to have a bill, and there's so many out there, and different states have different laws. We want people to have a choice. I thought this was something that we could all agree upon. If we want to talk about most victimized people in society, are children not the most vulnerable? A lot of you are on the left that are listening to this. Don't let your mind go, oh, well, what about gun control? Or what about teaching religions that aren't true? Like, just instead of having a whataboutism mentality where you always deflect to another topic that you think conservatives don't care about children, obviously I disagree with a lot of those premises, just stay focused on this one. Why can we not agree that exposing children to over-sexualized anything is a bad idea? Straight, gay, anything. I can hear people just, my thoughts, because I've heard these rebuttals too of like, oh, the toddlers and tiaras shows and all that stuff. Well, what about that? Yes, I think those have always been weird and inappropriate. And I think a lot of the disagreement is there's one camp that thinks, oh, we're not making kids trans. They were just already trans. They were already of this sexual identity, and we're just now letting them express it. And this is where I think a lot of people have issue with. It is not as innocent as you're just letting kids express themselves. You are cultivating an environment. You're cultivating pressure, whether that be subconscious, whether that be through promoting something at a public school. You're promoting an environment for kids to think and act that way. To say that sexuality is 100% genetic and biological and that there's, predetermined, I'd have anything to do with it, or people in my community had nothing to do with it, I think is a lie. I don't think there's much science to back that up. I think if you go back and look at numbers of when you really had an explosion in terms of numbers or people identifying as trans, it has exploded in the last 6 to 8 years. That's not just because it's now, quote unquote, being accepted in certain areas, so that the real people that have always been trans that are there, now they're just coming out. This is where we need to have the disagreement. It doesn't need to be about, I hate you because you're different than me. I hate you because I think you're oppressing me. It's none of that. It's truly disagreeing with the ideology, arguing the points, discussing the principles. Leave the children out of it. People have to realize that this can be more of a connected topic. I think a lot of people that identify with this community, they're looking for acceptance. I understand that if you have felt that you've been oppressed, if you felt like you're holding something back, you want to be able to express yourself. But that's the problem. It's not just, hey, I want to express myself and I don't want people to keep me down. I think you're going against what you preach. You preach against oppression. You preach against people telling you what to do. But then yet in the same breath, you come back and now are forcing other people that disagree with you to agree with you. There's one angle to be against the government from stopping, two consenting adults to do whatever they want to do. It's another to go, you know what? I'm mad at society for not liking me. I'm sorry. That is just life. That is tough. But just because someone doesn't like you, it could be for a million things. Someone's a liar, a cheater, a stealer. They're always late. They're not fun to be around. They're grumpy. They're mad. They're not a good friend. There are dozens and dozens of things people could not like you for. I truly think one of the main weaknesses in the LGBTQ community, they're lacking a community that's liking them for them. I know that's what they say, but they're leading with sexual orientation and sexual identity. If that is how you want to be known about who you sleep with or how you represent yourself or what you prefer to go by or what your pronouns are, I think that's a sad way to live. I do not think you're enjoying life to the fullest. There's even tons of Twitter pages that are, gays against groomers. There's a lot of things on there. I'm not accusing of everyone in that community of being a groomer. Just hear me out. What I'm telling you is there are people of the LGBTQ community that disagree with Pride Month. They disagree with what it promotes at large. They think it's about just your own personal decision and a lot of different factors. And especially with kids. To me, we have to get behind this and protecting our kids. I think everything in our society has been over-sexualized. There's plenty of heterosexual norms or maybe things we've laughed at, like the young 12, 13-year-old boys taking pictures with the Hooter waitresses and stuff like that. I think that stuff's inappropriate. This has got to be somewhere we can find common ground. If you always think you're fighting something that doesn't exist, then you will use that as your mantra forever. And the narrative going around, CNN just had an article that an organization released like an emergency alert for people in the LGBT community, like a state of emergency. It's just outrageous. Stop strawmanning. I feel like I say this in every episode, but stop strawmanning the other side's positions that you disagree with. Engage honestly. Most people that are against the LGBT community, yes, have a religious motive, but you don't even need to invoke religion into it. Just as humans, children need to be protected. Why? They're the most vulnerable in our society. They do not have fully developed brains. They're not fully developed sexually. We need to let kids be kids. Let them grow up. And then, as adults, if they want to make life-altering decisions with surgery or hormones, any kind of things that will change the rest of their life, something they can't go back from, why can we not exercise caution? If I'm talking to someone who's trans, I think they can agree with me ideologically that, yeah, we should let people make their own decisions when they're ready for it. We don't need to encourage it. We don't need to promote it. If someone really feels that way, by the time they get to an age of an adult, it's not personally what I'm going to recommend to someone because I still think it's damaging. But if you're an adult and you're mentally well, then that's on you. But if you feel you absolutely have to do that to make your life livable, that's your right. You should be able to do that. We need to take the extreme language off both sides. We have to just see it for what it is. People can do what they want to do. We need to get government out of most decisions. Just in general, guys, with Pride Month, this is another thing I just see as disingenuous. All these companies either putting a rainbow flag or trying to make a LinkedIn social media post, it's just disingenuous. They don't actually care about the issues. They're doing it for one of two reasons: to build clout so they can look better to people, or they're just doing it because they know that if they don't say something, then they fear the backlash. That's a problem. All of this stuff creates a disingenuous society. That was like one of my first episodes. Oh, it's Pride Month. You either have to say something or you're going to get reprimanded for it. Okay, so some people are just doing it under social pressure. As someone in the LGBT community, why would you even want someone to do something under force? Isn't that what you kind of preach against? Because you're trying to tell people, hey, government, get off me. Hey, religion, get off me. I can do what I want. I see so much contradiction in the movement, in the community. You know, I have gay friends, I have gay family members, I've had gay coworkers, gay neighbors. I should be able to look someone in the eye and say, hey, I disagree with what you're promoting, and here's why. It doesn't mean that I think you're this terrible person. I don't need to bring religion into it. I don't need to force you to think the way that I do. That's a lot of the contradictory stuff that I see. I see a lot of people calling people homophobic, calling people transphobic, just using this extreme language that, first of all, anything with phobic at the end of it in 2023 doesn't mean anything. It means an irrational fear. No one is going around going, oh my gosh, I'm so scared of trans people. I'm so scared of gay people. That doesn't happen. What really is happening is society's going, hey, I disagree with that. I don't think that's good for children. I don't think that's good for society. Some people go, hey, it's against my religion, but hey, they can do what they want. Just don't force me to believe what you believe. Where has respect of difference of opinions gone? If you disagree with me, that must mean you hate me because I'm sexually different than you. It's just a crazy thought process. I shouldn't be surprised because of the way social media is just the gasoline on the fire that is disunion. All in all, don't be a victim of your group thought process. Think outside the box. You're allowed to disagree with people and not be hateful, and not think that just because someone has a different opinion than me, that must mean they want to see me eradicated off planet Earth. It's just, I've seen a lot of this language. CNN just had an article too that is just stoking the flames, and it's not true. It would be one thing to accurately represent the tension in the LGBT community or on the topic itself. That'd be one thing to represent the disagreements. I do have a question for the LGBT community and anyone that agrees with a lot of the content that group stands for or promotes. Why do you have to lead with your sexuality? Why is that the most important thing, at least it seems, to be about you? I'd rather know if you're like a good person or what you like to do for fun. Let's say someone was super terrible against you, either through religious lens, religious perspective, or made you feel just absolutely non-human or subhuman or terrible. Take those two situations away. I truly want to know, like, I'm curious if anyone can either message me or type in the comments, why do you feel that you have to lead with your sexual identity or sexual orientation to be your identity? I think it's surface level. I don't think there's much depth to it. I just don't think that sexuality should be your forefront purpose in life. That's just my opinion. I truly would like to know. I think there's a bajillion other things as a society that we could be talking about and we could be growing and discovering. I just don't think sexuality is one. I think a lot of this comes from a standpoint of rejection. The reason you have to put forward a Pride Month is because you feel like you've been rejected and you're not accepted. It's not the case, I don't think. I think it's just people disagree with you. That's okay. And I think there's just a lot of conflicting messaging going on. I saw a poll the other day on Twitter that was like, nearly 73% of adults think same-sex marriage should be okay or acceptable. And I'm like, but wait, that seems like a lot of people are okay with it. Yet you have CNN writing articles saying the state of Florida has been declared a state of emergency from a certain LGBT-related organization. So the sky is falling, but at the same time, you're mocking America, or at least people that disagree with same-sex marriage, because there's such a high support for it. It's just not making sense to me. That's not what makes you a valuable member to society. And I think a lot of people are maybe leading with that because they're so fearful of rejection that they have to be out in front. It has to be bold. It has to be proud, right? Because if they don't lead with that, or if they do lead with that and they get rejected, It makes them feel like they can stand up more to it. But even then, we disagree with what is rejection. Is it someone saying, hey, you do what you want, but just please don't teach it to my children at a public school. I'd like them to learn about science and reading. I'm not talking about the 0.00001% of our population that stand on the side of roads with signs that are maybe in some cults at churches and stuff like that. I just think it's gotten out of hand. I don't really see any specific examples of where people are maliciously attacking people in this community. We were living a certain way in America, and then a new group wanted to do some things differently. Well, yeah, naturally you're going to have some disagreement. It's not just rooted out of hate because they don't like that your sexuality isn't the same as theirs. We've kind of found out a good formula for society. We'd like to keep it as the main structure of society for procreation, for the family unit, for family bonding. I think there's plenty positive attributes about a father and a mother in a home. Just because there are some people, which it's still in the minority, that want to do life differently in terms of sexuality and family, doesn't mean you need to flip off all the people that are doing family like the traditional way. Not bringing religion into this at all. I'm just purely talking about a mathematic formula per se and how humans have thrived and not just survived. Don't try to just tear the normal way of doing things down just to do it. If you've got beef with it, sure. If you've got legitimate issues, of course, that's welcomed. I am open to discussion. I'm open to debate. But I'm also not just going to kneel to the most recent fad or the most recent thing being advocated for just because I want to be inclusive. I'm more interested in the way you're communicating your message and what you believe in. Are you forcing it down people's throats? To be honest, I think a lot of Pride Month is doing that. It's not like, hey, I'd like to talk about this. Hey, I'd like to be included. It's like, you believe in this or you're a bad person. I just don't like threatening language like that. Or are you persuading people with good conversation, good-natured conversation? Or are you refraining? And I'm cool with that too. If you're one of those people that like, I don't want to talk about it because you do your thing and I'll do my thing, that's cool too. Just food for thought. I appreciate you guys checking out my 5th episode. We will see you on the next one.
I got the golf course landing. At J House on New Year. NES got the whole crew here. Full lift, making gator shoes here. I swear the shit feeling like a zoo here.
1, 2, 3, Shield Pro with the neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, hopping on the jet. Touchdown, NY, John on the way. Brown skin, light skin, she woke up today. Since I fly a lot, Bird tell Jacob that I need a watch. You know the ones with the color ice drops. We getting money, taking bets. Check my material on hella fresh.
Man, I got all the favorite bitches say I'm delicious. I'ma have all you motherfuckers laying in ditches. I'ma kill all you rappers, I'ma aim with precision. They was rocking with your ass till they made a decision. All my friends making mans cause they know I'm my bitch. A lot of entertainers crash, I can see the collision. That's it to make the money, I was great at the vision. I finna take all your food and I'ma eat up the dishes.